What's up, guys? It is Emmy NES back again with another video today. Actually, it's Emmy versus the movies. Today we're talking about Chasing Ghosts, which is, I guess a prequel or the movie that they made before King of Kong. It kind of seemed like there was at least one scene in here that was taken from King of Kong, where it was like him trying to do the Donkey Kong score, and it was a high score. It was like 900 something thousand, so you know it's got to be from the King of Kong timeline at least. I know they were kind of making a bunch of movies concurrently, and like only 2 of them got made if I remember correctly. So that's a thing. So anyway, this movie's more about the other world record holders that weren't just Billy Mitchell. I mean, he's in the movie a little bit, but, you know, there's a bunch of other guys that were like Millipede and Centipede and all the Pedes and, you know, all the other games, Burger Time and that kind of stuff. More of the other arcade games. Missile Command, that same guy shows up again, and he's pissed off for his world record, and you know, they kind of there's not really as much of a storyline in this one. It's just kind of like talking to these random people, and then they show them at the Life cover thing, like, you know, back in the 80s, and they kind of explain it. They kind of explain the history of Twin Galaxies a little bit more, and just give like each of their experiences playing classic video games back then, you know. So it's more or less, it's very much more a documentary style rather than like a movie with like high suspense or like a plot, you know. Like, it kind of felt like the other movie, you know, felt like it had like a structure of story in a sense, even though it was a lot of events kind of placed together, edited together to look in a certain way. This movie's more so just like talking to a bunch of people and remembering those experiences and whatnot, and kind of giving a little history of video games and like what it was like in the arcade culture back in the day, and you know, that kind of thing, what it was like to be a winner back then, and sort of even the depressing side of it all, like, you know, they couldn't find jobs doing this or whatever. Even in the heyday of all of this, they couldn't just get paid to do this, so they had to do other jobs. And so there's always this kind of tone of underlying like fact that they couldn't just get away with doing this for a career, which is sad, you know. It's like nowadays you have like Twitch streamers and stuff, they get away with doing this for a career, and we all get jealous of them, but it's like they put in a lot of hard work too. So I don't know, if I could stay home and play video games all day, that'd be pretty sweet. I feel like my life would get pretty boring doing that though, and playing the same game all the time and whatnot. But I guess they're the modern version of these older video game record people. I mean, you know, like the speedrunners are, and then like the top brass of like these more competitive games these days kind of represent that all now. So, but it's not as cool, you know. It's like these guys had the records for these games back in the day, and that's pretty cool, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's still very interesting. There's still focus on like a lot of the key players from the other movie, like Walter Day and that the other Steve that wasn't Steve Weeby, the guy that was there, like the Donkey Kong and all that, who faked his score, which apparently he faked for like 3 million. Come on, dude, like that's not even a score that anybody's achieved today. In the movie, they barely, I mean, maybe they've achieved it today. In the movie, they barely achieved 1 million. Like, how the fuck are you gonna get 3 million? Don't be like that. At least put like 1 million something so it looks more realistic. But guy's a fucking idiot if he did that shit. Like, I don't know. Anyway, Um, yeah, it's about that, and it's about, scorekeeping in general, kind of keeping a grasp on all of that, and just an interesting sort of movie. Not not quite as crazy and dramatic as The King of Kong or any of that. Like I said, it's less of a story through and through. It's just more so people recalling their experiences and little stories within there. People reuniting and talking after all these years, and little rivalries going on. Just a little, more individual stories. It's more like an anthology rather than like a one singular story. So, but it makes for an interesting movie. And so yeah, like the only reason I even like knew about this movie is because like whenever they had Walter Day on the podcast there, I believe he talked about Chasing Ghosts, or it was Gamester 81 on the All Gen Gamers back in the day, back when it was big. Like they had talked about it, and I was like, oh, I better check this movie out. So, back then we didn't have quite as many video game documentaries to like look after, but I'm sure there's a lot of them now. So, but it sure is interesting. So, for something like that, and for being like, from like, I don't know, like 2005 or 6 or whatever the fuck this movie came out, it was still definitely very interesting back then. It kind of reminds me of like what the fuck was that show called? Icons, the G4 show from back in the day. You guys remember that? Like, that's where I first heard of Billy Mitchell, was on the show Icons, because they like told his story on there and stuff. So like, I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyway, it reminds me of that stuff back in the day, like the history of video games and whatnot. So, like I said, still pretty enjoyable movie. I don't know if I like it quite as much as King of Kong, but still solid nonetheless. I still enjoy it as a documentary. It's something you watch King of Kong first, and then you go and watch Chasing Ghosts afterwards, because you wanted more of like the people from King of Kong, kind of that kind of thing. So yeah, arcades aren't like they used to be. Is this Mega Man? It sounds very Mega Man. It is Mega Man. It's Cut Man. Mega Man Anniversary, apparently. I don't know what that means, but oh, from the Famicom. That's why it sounds a little different. Anyway, so yeah, I like it. It's a good movie. Recommend. So yeah, until next time, this has been Emmy versus the movies, and keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated movies and games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily, out.